Hey everyone, John Lorden here. Welcome to another episode of BrainScratch Searchlight. Today's case came from you guys, in particular my Twitter followers. I got some retweets that someone had put out of a missing persons poster, responded that I've got the case on my list, and a few hundred of you basically liked that response. So whoever's responsible for the social media push in terms of the case of Emmanuel Boachie, you're doing something right, because I've never quite seen a response like I did for this case. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Here is the missing persons poster that was sent to me. Emmanuel Boachie has been missing since the 7th of December 2017. He is missing from Brampton, Ontario, Canada. He is a black male. His hair is black and short. He has an athletic build, stands at 6 feet tall, weighs about 190 pounds, and he's only 20 years old. He has a thin mustache and a little goatee. You don't really see them in this picture. He was last seen on December 7th at about noon at his workplace, a Brampton warehouse in the area of Chrysler Drive and Queen Street East. Of course, they have contact information. I will also have the contact information in the description box below. If you happen to know something about this case, please use that contact info and send it in. It includes a method down there for anonymous tips if you want to keep your name out of this for some reason. This case really moves me because we've got a young man. He had gone through 2 years at college. He took a little time off, but he was getting ready to re-enroll. He is into graphic arts. We're going to take a look at some of his social media, and I got to tell you guys, from what I'm seeing here, this is a very talented young man, and I'm kind of concerned about where he is and why he isn't doing what it looks like he loved to do and he was very talented at. So let's go ahead and jump forward with an article at BramptonGuardian.com. Here we see another picture of him, and here we can see the goatee and the mustache a little better. I just wanted to hit this to note, police say that Boachie's family is concerned for his well-being. So in terms of social media, he's got a pretty good footprint. Here we have his Facebook profile. We can see he went to David Suzuki Secondary. He was in the class of 2015. And we can see he also attended Humber College. For his current city and hometown, he has Brampton, Ontario. Of course, we've got favorite music listed here, Juju. For games, Sonic the Hedgehog. Kind of interesting. I figured he'd be a little too young to be that big of a Sonic fan, but once we get to his YouTube page, you'll see he certainly is. Also, other things that he was into, I was kind of curious because I didn't know what Perplexity Escape Games Brampton was. I know about escape games, but so I looked up their page as well. Apparently he was a fan of that place for their escape games. That's, you know, the environments you go into where they lock you in a room and there are props and sounds and you have to figure out the mechanism to get you out of the room within a certain time, just in case you're not familiar with those things. It looks like he's also a fan of Will Smith, Jai Richards. Let's go ahead and move forward. This is his Bandcamp profile, which I'm not extremely familiar with Bandcamp. I really don't use it. Looks like he calls himself Boachie. I don't know if it's actually Boachie, but he uses that across several different websites that are on his social media footprint. He also has Vimeo, but only one video posted here. And honestly, I think it's just a student project. He actually has the same video also posted on his YouTube, which is here. And you can see he's got some pretty cool artwork going on with his channel banner. And this photo, which I actually saw in an article that was said that this photo was a collage that was made by his family, but I'm not sure if that's true because it looks like it's actually on his YouTube page. So I would think he might have done that on his own, but I'm not 100% sure. In terms of the videos, that one video that I said was probably a class project is in here. Just a young man having fun, and it really kind of touched me when I went through all these videos. You know, we've got him taking a clip at a Jay-Z concert. We've got him on a ride where someone tries to call him in the middle of him filming himself on this theme park ride. And he's got some pretty funny dance videos he puts up. Even in these dance videos in the background, you can see some of his artwork that is on the walls around him. And once again, the Sonic the Hedgehog reference I was talking about is on a beatbox video that he does here, which once again shows this is a guy that has numerous skills. And I'm certainly wondering where he is. Over on his Tumblr page, it looks like he used this to primarily post some of his artwork. And I gotta say, this guy is really talented. I'm seeing some really good, interesting art that he's posting here. And it looks like he has a bright future in terms of graphic design. I really want to make sure that he gets back to that opportunity and we figure out where he is so he can come back and do all that. Jumping over to peelpolice.ca, region of Peel, investigators from the 21 Division Criminal Investigation Bureau continue search for a missing 20-year-old male from the city of Brampton. Here we get a clothing description, which we actually didn't have on the poster. He was last seen wearing black with white stripes Adidas pants, a dark colored jacket with a black toque. And for anyone that doesn't have friends that are Canadian, a toque is what we in the US would call a beanie, essentially. I wasn't familiar with the region of Peel, so just to give you guys a little background on that, thanks to Wikipedia. The regional municipality of Peel, also known as the Region of Peel or Peel Region, is a regional municipality in southern Ontario, Canada. The entire region is part of the Greater Toronto Area, also known as the GTA, and it has a population of over 1.2 million people as of the 2011 census. It's the second largest municipality in Ontario after Toronto. So a lot of people living in this area. Over at cbc.ca, we get some more details I want to cover with you guys, and we start getting some input from his family in terms of their concerns and fears here. Family pleads for help in finding Brampton man last seen more than a month ago. This was posted January 21st, 2018. See another picture of him here. And let me just say that in the pictures that you're going to see of him, largely, he doesn't seem to be smiling a lot in these pictures, but I can tell you the vibe I'm getting from him after watching all his YouTube videos is this is a guy that liked to smile, liked to have a lot of fun. He's got a really kind of funny personality that he's presenting in terms of the videos that he's put up. So just a little bit different than we might assume just looking at pictures of him in terms of what type of person he is. And of course, we're going to hear from his family here, so we get a much better idea. Boachie, a student of graphic design at Humber College, had taken a semester off and was supposed to re-register for school on December 8th. An artist who loves photography, his relatives describe him as calm, soft-spoken, and gentle. Sherry Crawley, Boachie's foster mother since he was 8 years old, created a Facebook page, Bring Emmanuel Boachie Home, in the hopes that someone with information will come forward. I also have those hopes. That's why I'm recording this video. Please, if you have friends in this area, share this video with them. Let's keep that exposure raised. Let's keep that social media pressure going on this case and make sure that everyone that could potentially help in this case knows about him and knows his face. Here is another picture of him. Quote, "It's just like he vanished, and different scenarios run through your head and your mind just goes in the worst possible place," his foster mother said. Crawley said she spoke with Boachie on the day he disappeared. The two spoke about his grandmother who was in hospital after suffering a stroke. His grandmother died on December 20th, she said. "We don't even know if he knows," she said, breaking into tears. She was his nanny. Crawley said her other son, who worked with Boachie, was told by a supervisor that he hadn't shown up to work. The absence was unusual because Boachie never even skipped class in high school, she explained. Now, what's unfortunate here is I don't really know if they're talking about the following day, which actually wouldn't make sense because his appointment with the school counselor was the following day. And according to some information later, we're going to hear that he had taken that day off. They're saying that he was last seen at work on the 7th and he left around noon. I don't know if that means that he left for his lunch break and then he never returned from his lunch break. I don't know if that was the end of his shift and he just left at the end of his shift. Quote, "He's not the type of kid to just go away and not phone anybody. He's never run away, never. It doesn't make any sense. Bochy was reported missing on December 14th. Peel Regional Police said there are no reports of him going missing before. Spokesperson Constable Bancroft Wright said investigators have checked his bank account, cell phone records, and laptop for signs of activity that may provide any leads on his whereabouts. Currently, police do not think there is any indication of foul play. Investigators have also determined that Boachie hasn't left the country. When I was at CrimeCon this past weekend, I heard something interesting from one of the private investigators there. I don't know where this information came from. I'm just telling you what he told me. He said that 80% of missing persons cases are actually unsolved homicides. Which I just raised not because of this particular case. Actually, by the end of this video, I think we're going to see there might be some light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to this case. But in particular, I'm just always shocked that the default method of operation in these missing person cases is that there is no indication of foul play, then they can't investigate it much further than, he just decided to go away on his own. I believe that, and I've kind of talked about this in videos before, I believe that if you have someone that is not showing that they are supporting themselves in some way, or they're not using means of survival that are logical, that might push us towards a possible foul play scenario. I don't think you're always going to have blood splatter or a vehicle that shows that there was a fight in it, or things broken around his home. I don't think that is going to be always the case. For instances where there might actually be foul play. Quite honestly, in some of those cases, you might not even be sure where the abduction actually happened, and this is kind of one of those cases. We know that he went to work. We know he left work, and we're going to get some more information that it looks like he went home, but we're kind of running on assumption on that based on what we're being told. So let's go ahead and push forward here at humbernews.ca. So this is more information coming from his foster mother, Sherry Crawley. She described Boachie as soft-spoken, loving, and non-confrontational. He's the diffuser. He's outgoing and can make friends with anybody, she said. He's just a loving guy. I know he has lots of friends that still go to Humber. A couple of them have reached out to me on Facebook. For him to not call or answer us, especially since his grandmother has passed away, to not go to work where he worked with his brother, something's not right. He's never been in trouble with the law. He didn't have anything to run away from, she explained. So back over to another article at the Brampton Guardian. This is from May 4th, 2018, and it's interesting because for a case that is several months old like this one is, some of the most compelling details have actually only come out within the past couple of days, and it doesn't seem like it's a matter of investigation. It just seems like for some reason, those details weren't shared before. I'm not sure that I quite understand it. But here we do have a photo of him that I think is a little more in line with the personality of the guy that I felt from the videos. If there is such a thing as vanishing into thin air, Emmanuel Boachie has done it. For 5 months, his family has been worried sick about him, and they believe someone holds the key to relieving them from the agony of not knowing. I also firmly believe that someone out there knows something about what's going on with this. Quote, "We just want him to come home. That's my prayer," says Sherry Walton Crawley, his foster mom. "There's always that hope that he's fine. If I don't have hope, I have nothing," she says. "I firmly believe someone out there knows something and they're not saying. Nobody just vanishes." Her plea to that someone is simple. Just please send somebody a message. Write a letter, send it anonymously. Just let us know where he is so we can find him and bring him home. This past weekend, May 5th, they did a flyer distribution at Brampton's Southgate Plaza. That's close to his apartment. And not only was his foster mother there, but his birth mother, Juliana, was also there. I really don't have a lot of detail here, but it looks like his birth mother is actually from Ghana. So I don't know if this was kind of an international foster situation or something along those lines. I'm just not that familiar, and unfortunately the details aren't publicly available. Boachie hasn't been on social media. His cell phone is turned off. It appears he made it home from work. His family found his work bag and work shoes, lunch container, not yet washed out, in his apartment. Interesting how that's phrased about his lunch container not yet washed out, because from that we can assume there's a very good chance that he actually ate his lunch. Once again, I don't know what his work schedule is like. I don't know if that is lunch that he might have had at more of what we consider breakfast in terms of time because of when his shift was, or if that means literally lunch, like, he left work and brought that container home. Doesn't seem really logical to me that he would do that, because why wouldn't you just leave your lunch at home if you knew that you were going to be home at noon to eat it? Unless something happened at work. Maybe if someone contacted him and said, we want to meet up with you somewhere or something like that, if his plans changed for some reason, something along those lines, potentially. I'm really not sure. But it does seem clear that he made it back to his apartment, which I guess is a basement apartment from other details I've seen. Quote, his duffel bag was gone. So I'm assuming he packed a bag where he was going, says Crawley. But he's not going to go away for this long and only take one change of clothes. This is the light at the end of the tunnel that I was mentioning earlier. So, something that I always look into when I'm talking about these cases is intent, particularly for a missing persons case like this. For a duffel bag to be missing, and we have the mother saying she assumes that he packed a bag for where he was going, there obviously is some intent that he's going somewhere, either to transport something, which might be what the duffel bag is actually for, because it's her assumption that he actually packed a bag. Unfortunately, we don't have her saying, we looked through his clothes and I know that there was another pair of jeans missing, another t-shirt or a favorite sweater of his or something like that. We don't have that kind of detail. And thankfully, she's at least being clear that she's assuming that he packed a bag, almost like an overnight bag. We don't necessarily know that. All we know is that there is a duffel bag that is missing. There was no sign of struggle inside his neatly kept apartment. I've already kind of touched on that. I don't think we can always rely on that necessarily, because if you imagine a very simple abduction scenario where someone comes in and pulls a gun and says, you're coming with me, there isn't going to always be a struggle that is obvious for other people that are coming after that fact. He was all set to return to college in January and had booked an appointment for December 8th to re-register. His brother said he took Friday off to go to that appointment. He had all intentions of going, says his foster mother. Which, once again, if he was packing some type of overnight bag, is a little interesting, because why are you going to go stay somewhere else when you've got this meeting set up the following day so that you could figure out how you're going to re-enroll and get back into school? I don't know. Few aspects of this case that certainly leave me with big questions. I did also want to show you, this is a picture. I believe that this is his foster mother on the left and his birth mother on the right. We can see that several people showed up and were handing out flyers. I don't know, just a real heartbreaker of a case. Of course, in the links below, I will also have the Facebook page, which unfortunately is one that has been locked down. So people that don't have Facebook, well, you can kind of see the information in the background, but it's been all grayed out. If any of the family happens to see this, just know that not everyone is on Facebook. And I know there's a way to change your settings so the people that aren't on Facebook can still review the information there. We just get this login prompt that kind of stays stuck at the top or the bottom of the page. Just might be helpful in terms of other people reviewing this information. There is also a Web Sleuths thread, but unfortunately, it is literally just one post that is pointing back to one of the news articles that we've already covered here. So what is going on in this case? The bag is interesting. The fact that we know he got home is interesting to me. So we can start kind of, in terms of a timeline, we can understand he's at work. He leaves around noon. He gets home. So whatever travel, and I don't know. I'm not seeing any mention of a vehicle, so I don't know if he's using public transit. I don't know if he had a bicycle. I don't know if he did have a bicycle. Is the bicycle missing? Many questions all over this case. And let me just say at this point, if there is any family member out there that wants to speak to me to help clarify any of this, please feel free to reach out to me. You can email me at John, John, at LordenArts, just like it's spelled in the channel name down below, .com. Just send me an email. If you want to be interviewed on the channel, we could do that. Or if you just want to speak to me privately and have me relay the information, we can do that. Because I know I'm going to bring up several questions here that family members might actually be able to answer. One of those is what I was just mentioning about the duffel bag. Are we sure that he actually packed it as an overnight bag? Do we know that if any of his personal effects were missing that would kind of support that story? Was his toothbrush there? Was his toothpaste there? Hairbrush, those kind of items. Did someone know the amount of clothing that he had enough to look through what was left behind and to determine if any of that clothing was missing and could potentially be in the duffel bag? That might be helpful information. In terms of his workplace, some clarification about what's going on there, because we're hearing that work said that he didn't come in, but we're also hearing that the last time he was seen was at work. We know that he wasn't scheduled the following day. Was it several days later that that phone call actually happened? Just a little clarification on that might help us. I have not seen any information about potential sightings of him. I don't know how many units were at the place where he was living. Did anyone there happen to see him coming or going at any point? Was he with someone? Was he alone? What was his usual method of transportation? So many questions around this case, but I did want to get it exposed. I did want to get it profiled. I know that several people in social media are talking about the fact that this case is not getting a whole lot of exposure. I can certainly agree with you. Most of the publications that I went through outside of the CBC are fairly small publications. Of course, CBC is a little bit bigger, but they only really have that one news story hit on it. So I'm hoping that this video might help raise more exposure around all this. But if he was, I do worry about the fact that he had stopped school for some reason, and then he was lined up to go back to school, and then he disappeared right around that. So I'm also wondering if there's something to that. Was he stressed out about potentially going back to school? Was it really not his intention to go back to school for some reason? Was there some reason why he didn't actually want to get to that meeting, and he's worried it's going to disappoint his family or something along those lines? I think that there's a real possibility of all that, because once again, we don't have enough detail to know this for sure, but it's clear that he stopped school for some reason, and then all of a sudden, the day before he's going to meet with them to see how he can resume, he disappears. So just the timing of that is a little curious to me. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let's talk about it in the comments below. Please be sure to share any other theories, any other information that you might have found on this case with the rest of us. As usual, I ask that we please remain respectful in terms of discussing this. There's a very good chance that his family, his friends, other people that care about him are going to see this video and see your comments. So let's make sure that they're not wasting their time reading people arguing with each other, as opposed to reading really good, solid thoughts and potential other avenues for them to explore in terms of finding Emmanuel and bringing him home. And before I end the video, let me just say to any of those family or friends that does come across this video, in the links below, you will also find a link to my BrainScratchers Missing Persons Tips page. That might be helpful. So you might just want to go there. I've got several videos. I've also got tons of written information about what you can do in cases like this. One of those might be the thing that helps. We never know. So you might want to check that out. Thank you so much for caring about these cases like I do. I cannot do it without your help. So thank you for being part of my team and trying to help on cases like this. I really, really appreciate it. Come back to the Lord and Arts channel tomorrow. I'll see you there.